What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am, of course, your host, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, of course, watching my back, as always, is the Freddie Mercury puppet. We are back with another banger. Before we go any further, as I do every episode, I'll address the elephant in the room for you all. You're looking at these smoldering good looks, which I can't help. These beautiful, luscious blonde locks, again, inherited from, of course, my legendary father, as I am the one and only love child of one Diamond David Lee Roth. Now you have it, the full story, and now we can get down to brass tacks. So moving right along, I'm excited about today's guest. Super happy to be able to run him down and have him in here for a chat, and we'll get him in here in a moment. I'm probably not even going to go into my obligatory promotional spiel because I feel like he's going to come in here in the middle of that spiel. So I will say that at the time of this recording, it is October 28th, Tuesday. We are just days away from Halloween. My guest is here, so let's get into it. I am stoked. Here we go with another one.
Hey,
Kyle,
hey.
How are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Awesome to have you on here, man. I appreciate you doing it, man. Thank you. And, sorry about the mix-up. I just have learned that in 700 episodes of this, sometimes people will bail on me at the last minute. So I try not to go up and get everything set up unless I get that confirmation. I figured you were going to do that because we had this locked in. So
I hear you. Yeah, I have the same problem as a music instructor and dealing with musicians who tend to be sometimes fickle and irresponsible and unreliable.
Sure. Yeah. And of course you set that time aside too,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, and so usually when I start these things, I like to backtrack a little bit and kind of go back to the beginning because I have so many musical artists in here. A common theme and or backstory with them is coming from musical households, either with parents that were musically proficient or records playing in the house a lot. Was this the case for you?
So, really, my dad played I think he played tuba for a minute in high school only because he was large enough to hold it.
Yeah.
But my parents, neither one of them really had any kind of love for music, sure, but not any kind of experience as a performer or anything. And really, my dad loved music that he could dance with his wife to.
Okay.
My mother was a little more like, I like this artist, I like that artist. So really, my love for music really kind of started with having older siblings. My two oldest sisters are 7 and 10 years older than me, and I'm the youngest, and then I've got a brother 2 years older than me. So whatever they were spinning was kind of what we were listening to.
Right.
And so I got indoctrinated early with the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, the Carpenters, Bad Company, Three Dog Night, Chicago. And then eventually my brother and I started gravitating towards Queen and Kiss and that sort of thing. So my sisters, they loved it. So they weren't even the stuff that we listened to that they didn't care for. They would help see to it that we had access to it. And so they ruined our lives.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you got them to thank for it. Yeah, absolutely. So you know where to point the finger of blame then, at least. and so it sounds like it was a gradual progression towards the heavier stuff. Do you remember a specific artist or an album that really got its hooks in you as far as extreme metal or the heavier side of music?
So, for me, the first heaviest things I heard, like I said, were like Led Zeppelin, Kiss, and Queen. And I loved it. But I also loved a lot of, I was a little kid when the new wave thing happened. So I really liked a lot of that. I still do. I sing for a new wave tribute act. And I want to say, though, it wasn't until my brother went to high school. I was still in grade school. So I'm in 6th grade, 7th grade, something like that. He comes home with Diary of a Madman on vinyl that a friend of his let him borrow. And I wanted to hate it so bad because my brother and I, as close as we were, we fought like cats and dogs. And,
sure.
You don't know anything. You're stupid. What you like is dumb. And I tried so hard to hate it. And eventually I just couldn't deny it anymore. And I dove into the first 2 Ozzy records. And then worked my way back to Black Sabbath, because my sisters didn't care for Black Sabbath. I remember like asking them about Black Sabbath and they were like, "Oh, no, that's like that, that's devil worship." Like, and that scared me. I was like, because I liked horror movies and stuff even as a little kid, but it always scared. I enjoyed scaring the shit out of myself.
Yeah.
So all it did was intrigue me. So when I finally was able to get my hands on it and connected the dots, oh, this guy Ozzy's from Black Sabbath, I had to have it. The first Black Sabbath album, I went out and bought it, and it was over with. It was done. I knew then that this is where I want to be. Judas Priest, AC/DC, Iron Maiden. That was all the next step. And eventually, I started playing bass, and that was my passion. I couldn't get enough of the bass. I was just always playing the bass. I had to have it taken away from me by my parents, because I wouldn't do anything else. So it was around probably 84 that a guy at school was like, "Man, if you like Priest and Maiden, etc., you can check out Slayer, check out Metallica." And so then I started listening to Ride the Lightning, Show No Mercy, and it just changed everything. So
and so when you say you get into the bass, that's interesting, because a lot of young people getting into music, they either want to be out there being the front man, or they want to shred. Bass isn't always looked at as the most glamorous of instruments to a young kid. How did you get drawn to it? I'm always interested, because and as I've gotten older, I certainly realize the importance of the bass holding down the rhythm section. A vital and often not appreciated instrument in a band. How did you get drawn to it? Some people on here have even said that the bass kind of chose them.
Well, for me, I already had 5 years of private music lessons. In third grade, I started on the trumpet. And so after 5 years of sitting down with this little old lady and a metronome every weekend, tapping my foot along, playing, it really gave me an important connection with the fundamentals of music, and a strong foundation for being able to just pick up any instrument I want, and just kind of go with it. So I think what intrigued me the most about the bass was being that I was already a musician. I think it gives anyone an advantage of being able to listen to the music and be able to separate what's what. Because I talk to a lot of people who are just casual listeners. They're like, I couldn't tell you the difference between the bass or the guitar or keyboard. They just can't pick it out, and it's fascinating to me, because it's just so easy to me. But I've also been a musician for over 40 years. But I think that, and just the fact that I was listening to, Bob Daisley and Geezer Butler and John Paul Jones and John Deacon and all these just amazing bass players, and just realizing how it's not. A lot of people treat it like another guitar, and it's not. It's actually more like an electric, cello or an electric violin, than anything. So it was Gene Simmons. There's another one. Paul McCartney. The list goes on. Listening to these songs my whole life and connecting with those bass lines was very easy for me. So my brother wanted to play guitar. My brother wanted to be a singer first, and then he wanted to play the guitar. I never wanted to be a singer. And while we were taking lessons together, he started on guitar and I took the bass. So we would share lesson time and split the time, because that's all my parents could afford. So what we were both smart enough to do was, when the other one was getting their half of the lesson, we just quietly watched.
Sure. Yeah.
So then we got home,
yeah.
And here, you try the bass and I'll try the guitar. And we just did that. And now to this day, my brother and I are both proficient at both instruments.
Yeah.
So
that's smart.
yeah. So guitar came to me down the line when I wanted to, I was really like, I want to start writing songs. I want to start writing riffs. So, and it was just another instrument in the house. I wasn't going to let it sit there and collect dust, so that's really kind of how I started on the string instruments. And like I said, the whole singing thing was totally an accident. I managed to make the mistake of opening my mouth at band rehearsals, singing backups, or just to sing one song to help the singer out and give
You
him
were
a
that
break.
gotcha?
Yeah. So then I literally, people started taking the bass away and handing me the microphone. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here playing Iron Maiden songs. Why don't you want me playing bass?
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know. It found me, and I figured it was a means to an end, and that eventually I'd get my bass gig that I dreamed of, and here I am, however many albums and bands and decades later.
Still the singer.
Yeah, and who casually goes back to instruments here and there.
And so when you get into singing, and I'll backtrack in a minute and talk about the origins of Exhorder, but because you've been singing for so long, and the voice now has become your instrument, are you a guy that ascribes to any type of vocal care, or are you just a guy that can just get up there and do very little warm up and just kind of belt it out?
Actually, I'm a vocal instructor.
Okay. Okay.
So not just that, music. I teach. If someone wants to learn bass, they want to learn some stuff on guitar. If my
Okay.
knowledge
You know
base,
better than just to go up there and start screaming then.
yeah. I want to say my sophomore year of high school was when the end of my sophomore year of high school is when I joined up with the Exhorder guys, and that summer we eventually became Exhorder. So that spring we had just started rehearsing, and at my high school we were allowed to choose our electives for the next year and make our own schedule. So I realized that there was a chorus program at school that wasn't extracurricular. It was part of the curriculum. So I said, well, this is a really, it's already paid for. My parents are paying tuition at this school. I might as well take advantage of this. I'm a musician, it makes more sense for me to take this than chemistry or, typing or whatever the hell.
Right.
So I signed up for chorus just to get a little bit better at singing. And it turned out that I excelled at it. And I never really knew that I was going to. I never hoped to. And I've spent 2 years in that program. And at the end of my senior year, my classmates voted me Outstanding Singer of the Year. From there, I went to 1 semester of college into the advanced chorale program they had there. And the final grade for that class was performing Beethoven's Ninth, the Ode to Joy, with the New Orleans Symphony for 2 sold-out nights in a theater. Single most incredible experience of my musical life.
Pretty big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything I learned from there, I sang every day for 3 years in class for at least an hour, and learning proper technique, learning, control and breathing, etc., and how to care for your voice. So it's not to say I didn't, when I was younger, probably ignore some of those things, being young and partying on the road, etc. But the way I am on tour now, the health of my body and the health of my voice are paramount, because my body is my instrument.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, if a guitar player or a keyboardist get the flu, they can get through a gig. I cannot.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be a problem. The drummer and the singer, the health of the drummer and singer are definitely, probably, I hate to say more important, because that sounds, everyone's health is important, but to get through the show, if I had my choice of, okay, you got the flu, do you just want to play guitar tonight, or do you want to sing? I would, every time, just give me the fucking guitar.
Yeah. Just let me go stand over there and
I'll put a diaper on, keep a bucket close by.
Yeah. And so here's something, just because you were at the beginning with Exhorder, it's that age-old question, who gets credit for it. I may have asked somebody this on another podcast, because I've had a bunch of the NOLA scene guys on this podcast. Oftentimes, we're not sure who adopted whose sound? I'm sure you've heard it. We always hear the Exhorder, Pantera, which came first, the chicken or the egg type thing. What expound on it a little bit? What do you say when people come up to you and say, you guys sound like Pantera? Pantera sounds like you. Who adopted this sound first? Where did it come from? Who gets credit for it?
I pretty much do exactly what I just did when you brought it up. I roll my eyes because it is the most beaten dead horse.
I agree. And if I don't ask, I can get up in the comment section for saying, why didn't you ask him? But yes, I do feel like even though there are similarities, there are obviously distinct differences that make you guys separate bands.
I'll make this one really quick, and it'll just make perfect sense, and I'll just go on a chronological journey here. So I joined up with those guys. I was the last member to join the original lineup.
Yep.
In April of 1986.
Yep.
I had just turned 16 the month before.
Okay.
So we all agreed. They were looking for a singer. I was looking for a band. So looking for a band to play bass in, but I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Yep. And
so we started rehearsing that spring and into the summer, and then recorded our first demo as Exhorder in, I want to say, August of 1986. So at that time, Pantera had been in existence for several years, doing the I Am the Night, Metal Magic. They had quite a few albums out. They were more of the, on the glam metal side, perhaps, the Van Halen-esque kind of, and God knows they were great at it.
Right.
And Phil was still living here in New Orleans, playing for a band called Razor White, which they were killer. They were a heavy metal band that were, all of the heavy metal bands back then were kind of cornered by promoters and stuff at the time to play mostly covers, and then they try to sneak their covers, their originals in.
Yep.
And I always felt for them for that, because everybody just wants to eventually play their own songs, and when you've got somebody who's not even in the band forcing you to do that, that or nothing, well, it kind of sucks. But so they were good. They play like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Kiss, real good, Black Sabbath, all really good stuff. And Phil was maybe 2 years older than me. And I'd go watch him play. I was like, man, this dude can really sing. And the band was good. And then I want to say the following summer, I learned that they were, that he was going with Pantera. He came out to see us play at a show. He had just started playing with them. I was like, yeah, I heard of them. But he was a really big Exhorder fan. He, like, from jump, Phil was always a big Exhorder fan. He loved Exhorder. So, we instantly became really close friends at that time and spent a lot of time together. So when he would come into town after he joined Pantera, he'd come in town, and a lot of us would hang out together. Me, him, Jimmy Bauer, Kirk Winstein, tons of people. We all would congregate, go bar hopping or just hanging out at someone's house. It's so much fun. Some of the most fun I ever had in my life. Laughed a lot. We were, there's a lot of funny people in one room.
Oh yeah, great guys. Yeah.
So I, to kind of wrap this up, because I'm kind of taking the long way. We were not the first band in New Orleans that we were one of the first crossover type. Like,
okay,
we were probably the first ones that were more metal than punk, whereas they had some that were more punk than metal, like Graveyard Rodeo, for instance, and Shell Shock. Those two bands on the punk scene, hardcore scene. There were earlier punk bands than that, for sure. But when I started going to shows, those were kind of like the two biggies. And Pepper Keenan from COC and down was in Graveyard Rodeo for a period of time. He wasn't an original member, but he was in that band for a minute. When I first met Pepper, he was playing in Graveyard. So the scene was tight, very together. We all spent a lot of time together, played a lot of shows together, but we blew up pretty quickly. So we got to a point where all those bands that we used to open for, we didn't necessarily need to open for them anymore. So we started headlining, and I don't know, every time we'd play, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a year in New Orleans, and every time like 500 kids or more would be there.
Yeah.
And it was magical. It was great. So we helped build this scene big time. And we were one of the first, if not the first, of the extreme bands to really break out of here with a record deal, that sort of thing. So that's basically every band from New Orleans that's successful and big now, or Louisiana, not just New Orleans.
Yep.
Crowbar, I Hate God, Soylent Green, Acid Bath, all of these bands in the very beginning were opening acts for Exhorder. And
Okay.
so the good news is, you know, there's room for everybody, and I love it. I love it when I see all the bands from here succeeding. It's just better for everybody. You know, we did some shows with Acid Bath, and some of the old school fans were coming up to me going, "What are y'all opening for them for? They should be opening for you." I'm like, because we can't sell as many tickets as they can.
Right.
Do the math. You know, I'm grateful that my friends haven't forgotten that we gave them opening spots and are now kind of paying it forward and reciprocating the favor. It's great for everybody. I'm not, you know, everybody's always got a, you know, a friendly competition. You know, I go out and I play every show with the mindset that whoever has to play after us, pack a lunch, because you're going to need it.
Right.
You know, but that doesn't mean I'm hoping that they have a bad show.
Right.
It's my job to elevate the crowd for the next thing.
Yeah, you're setting the bar high. Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
So I have no ill feelings towards any of the bands that have gotten bigger, especially the ones that worked and that never quit, because I've, you know, I had to stop for a while and raise my family. Exhorder disappeared for almost 3 decades.
I was going to get to that. Yep.
Except for a handful of shows here and there. So if I'm where I'm at, whose fault is it? It's, you know, it's my accountability. It's my responsibility. But maybe to not branch too much here, I've got a really bad habit of doing that. Back to the ultimate question, which was who came first, the chicken or the egg? So Pantera was in existence before Exhorder. Then Exhorder formed. Then Phil joins Pantera. Then they evolve into something way different than what that band started out as.
Right.
And, you know, I know that there's some influence from Exhorder for sure. Maybe not on everybody in the band, but definitely on Phil, because he was such a fan. But to be fair, he's had a lot of influence on me. You know, I didn't discover my real power singing, my, you know, clean vocal operatic Halford style singing, until way after he did. He was more natural with it, quicker out of the gates. And we had a strong friendship back then. We spent a lot of time together. So yeah, we influenced each other a lot. So, you know, maybe we were doing extreme stuff before they decided to go into the Cowboys from Hell power metal era. But, you know, the fact of the matter is they put their nose to the grind. They worked extremely hard. They got some really good breaks as a result, and they capitalized it and went out and conquered the world, whereas we couldn't get out of our own way because we were too busy fighting amongst ourselves and getting kicked off of tours, having not having the breaks. You know, this guy's got a college career. This one all of a sudden has a baby. This one doesn't want to play music anymore. So, and fast forward to now, I'm fortunate to be where I'm at and grateful that my band is bigger than it's ever been, because I've always felt like we had the potential to be as big or bigger than any of these other bands if we, you know, worked hard enough and made it happen. But I don't get too hung up in the, you know, who influenced who, did anyone rip anybody off? I don't give a shit about that. And you listen to our first demo, and there's so much Slayer and Metallica on that first demo. Like, everybody in the beginning is kind of honest to a fault, trying to find their own sea legs and own identity. And part of that goes by way of imitating your heroes and your mentors. So
no doubt, no doubt. And so you touched on it a bit. I want to backtrack a little bit for fans that might not know the ins and outs in the whole story. You guys dropped The Law in 1992, and then, as you said, you guys kind of drop off the radar for a little bit. What was going on during that hiatus? Catch fans up to speed a little bit. You know, you were mentioning raising a family, doing all this stuff. You know, so suddenly we get almost a 3-decade, you know, hiatus from you guys.
Well, to be fair, I went straight to work after EXHORDER fell apart in 1993.
Okay.
There were a few guys trying to hang on to it and keep it going. It was around that time that Jason Vibrooks first started coming around and having his part of EXHORDER history, the beginning of it, you know, the genesis of his part in it. But I was barely available. I was emotionally detached. And I was writing stuff with my brother that was a lot more along the lines of, you know, Sabbath-based, you know, blues-based rock. And that's what I wanted to do. And I just kind of went, man, to hell with that. I think I'm done with this. I had a call from Corrosion of Conformity at the time to go audition for the band before Deliverance came out, which I did. I spent a couple of weeks out there with them working on stuff. They eventually decided that they were going to keep it in-house, and that was fine with me because I really didn't feel like they needed a singer per se, but I would have loved to have joined just because I'm a fan of the band and they were friends. But it didn't work out that way. So when I got home, I got busy with my brother putting what became Floodgate together, and we signed with Roadrunner Records, put an album out, and did an arena tour with Sepultura on the Roots tour in Europe.
Yeah.
So we were on the rise and doing something in that regard too. That eventually, I think, Roadrunner turned their attention towards more of the new metal bands that were kind of kicking off because that was a trend.
Yeah.
And we just kind of got forgotten. And it was around that time I was getting into my late 20s, and I was like, all right, I want to start a family. I've always wanted to start a family. So I started a family, and I still did musical projects for a while. You know, I was involved with Trouble even back then. But I said, you know, it's family time. So the only other thing I did when my kids were little was after Hurricane Katrina, everything was kind of upside down, and I got a call that Alabama Thunderpussy was looking for a singer. So I did an album with them, worked really hard with them for a couple of years, but you know, it wasn't conducive. Playing 100+ shows over, you know, 12 to 18 months was not conducive to a family lifestyle.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I just made up my mind around the time. I was like, I can no longer do these long tours coming home empty-handed. I can't do it. So I went out and got a day job, held it for 10 years until my kids were grown up. And then the opportunity to come back with EXHORDER came back around, and I've been back in it ever since. And you know, stick with me. I'll teach you how to make hundreds of dollars.
Well, I picked up on something that you said in there, though, and I want to kind of just scratch the surface on that a little bit. So obviously, you dropped in 1990 Slaughter in the Vatican, an amazing album. And then, as I said, 92, you dropped The Law. But you said, you know, after just those two albums, you felt emotionally detached. What was it? Just, you know, you know, that soon into your career, just a couple albums in, what was it that, can you put a finger on, like, why you felt that way?
The first thing was that this band in the very early days, really just until the last 5 or 6 years, has been a relationship nightmare.
Okay.
You know, there was a lot of times when everyone loved each other and this and that, and we got along great and had a lot of laughs, but there was a lot of internal fighting, struggling, and I don't mean just arguing. I mean like physical fighting.
Okay.
You know, jail, like I said, kicked off of tours for misbehavior, and just we couldn't get out of our own way. And you know, there's a bit of an illusion that we didn't get our fair due, and that, you know, this and that. Man, we got everything that we asked for, which was a lot of problems, and it took a long time to clean that up. It wasn't until really, I want to say the beginning of 2022, the year that I started playing guitar, and we hired Pat O'Brien, and everything just started clicking, and all of our relationship problems were just gone.
Okay.
And that's not an easy thing to do. Now a lot of bands can work. I know a few bands, I'm not going to say any names, but I know a few that are very successful today, and that, just based on my experience around them or things I've heard, a lot of them don't like each other personally. They
Right.
don't. But when I had a day job, I had a lot of people I worked with that I laughed a lot with, and I had a lot of people I worked with that I didn't really see eye to eye with.
Right.
But if there was a person I didn't see eye to eye with that I worked very well with, and we could get a lot done and get out of there, get the work done and go home, I would rather work with that person than the one who's, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, an hour before we got to finish, going, "Hey man, check out this video."
Right.
Like, no, put it down and get on the ladder and let's
I want to
work.
go home today. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that. I think that bands who don't care for each other personally but can work well together, I think that's amazing, and I admire the hell out of it, because some people just can't get past "Oh, I can't stand to be around this guy." Like,
Yeah.
well, then go home. Then you quit,
Right.
We
Is
got
there
work to do.
resentment? Is there resentment at all, though, or like regret, resentment, any of that stuff? When you look back at, maybe wishing like, and again, it's commendable to step away, obviously, to start like a family. That's not something you really can second guess. That's something most people want to do in life. But, do you wish there was more there as far as Exhorder material? Do you wish you had been a more productive band and had not that stuff get in the way?
Yes,
Or was it just not going to be avoided?
yes and no. I mean, like, we came out, like I said, the band formed and made our first recording in 1986, and we recorded Slaughter in the Vatican on our own in a real, 24-track studio in 1987, 1988. And that was our intention, was we were going to make an album, whether or not we had a record deal, we're going to make an album. And in that way, when a record label signed us, we had an album already to go.
For sure.
And as it turns out, for whatever reason, when we ended up with Roadrunner, they didn't want that version, so they wanted us to re-record it, and it was a nightmare. And if you ask me what my preference is, the demo or the album, it's the demo.
Okay.
The album is recorded too fast. There were a lot of problems. We had a small budget. It was tough. Thank God people hail it as a classic, because for me, it was just like, thank God we had someone the caliber of Scott Burns there to help us, make it the best it could be, because it just, none of us felt like it was an improvement from the demo. And we didn't have much more luck with the Law either. So it was really easy for me to get kind of disgruntled about the way things were going. And we would have loved to have kept going and kept writing, but we were like I said, such a relationship nightmare, and inconsistent with what we were doing, not working hard enough. So do I wish that we had, when bands like us, Obituary, Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, all of these bands, Sepultura, were coming out around the same time on Roadrunner, do I feel like if we had stayed together healthily, stayed together,
Right.
And just continue to evolve into what we were supposed to be, I feel like we'd be as big or bigger than any of those bands today. Yes,
No doubt.
But it doesn't matter what I think, because all that really matters is what's fact. And the fact is, they all kept working. We did not. We're lucky that this band grows even when we aren't actually doing anything.
Yeah.
So when we are actually working hard and out there doing things, it grows exponentially. And that's where we're at now. The band's bigger than it's ever been. Our most recent album sold more than the one before it. We had good chart success on both of them. So everything in the modern era with Exhorder has been a success. So that just kind of leaves us in a spot where we feel like all the hard work that we've done to get back to this is really just now starting to pop off. So hopefully, we can get on some bigger tours with some of these. We're grateful to all the bands that have taken us out. I'd love to start taking it to the next tier. Starting to play. The theaters and the eventually arenas and stuff. That's the goal for me, is to make this band as big as it could possibly be.
And so talk to me a little bit about the current lineup, because you are making some great points. How you feel like this is a good, stable lineup. You feel like the band is at its strongest that it's ever been. Put a little shine on all the guys that are in the band right now and what they bring to the table. Obviously, you mentioned
Sure.
Pat Lyon, who is now playing guitar in the band, legendary former Cannibal Corpse guitar player. But all the other guys too. I've had Sasha on the podcast before.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So obviously, the most known, and let's be fair, Pat is probably more famous than EXHORDER, and it's just the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. I don't mind. Pat's my friend. I'm so glad that he's not a bitter man about how things have gone for him. Not to say he hasn't, had moments where he was probably mad about the hand he's dealt, but he also knows that, he's kind of in the situation he's in because of choices that he made. He's a man and he's accountable.
Yep.
But he didn't, we kind of had to ask him to come jam with us. Jason and he have known each other since they were teenagers. They're both from the greater Cincinnati area. So I'm not going to say that they were like close friends back then or grew up together per se, but they've known each other and have been acquaintances since they were kids. And so Jason invited him. I was just starting out on guitar as a thrash guitarist for this band, and it was working, and we knew we needed another guitar player. So Pat was the answer, and we invited him, and he was like, "Man, y'all don't want to mess with this." It's like, no, just come jam with your friends and see how it feels,
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. So obviously, he's to me the world's greatest extreme guitar player.
Yeah.
And I'm the world's okayest extreme guitarist. And I'm okay with that, because I gotta do this. I gotta play and sing.
Right.
But I'm the primary rhythm guy. I play just about all the breaks in the songs, and I have to teach Pat how to play the songs, which is odd. I'm sitting down giving Pat O'Brien guitar lessons.
Right.
And it's like, there's something wrong with this.
Yeah.
But he's been instrumental in helping me find myself and my confidence in what I do. So I have to say, as a human, he is one of the easiest musicians I've ever had to work with, to tour with, hang out with. If anybody could justify being an asshole diva, it's him, strictly because of his talent level and level of fame. But he shies away from it. He doesn't embrace social media. He's not interested in accolades. He just enjoys playing the guitar and just wants to have a good time on tour and have fun with his friends. So I admire him greatly for that. He's a big inspiration in that regard. We're lucky to have him. Jason Vibrooks has been with this band. Like I said, first time he started coming around was in '93, when we were just barely trying to keep it together before it fell apart. And he's been in and out of the band when we have reunion shows here and there over the years. But he's actually the one who kind of made this reunion happen. He found out from a guy who wanted to manage us that if we put a lineup together, this dude would help us make things happen. And if it wasn't for Jason, we wouldn't have had that. If he had not convinced us to put it back together and give it another try. And I kind of didn't want to, because since I've been a teenager or early 20s, for my own personal taste, I don't listen to a lot of this kind of music. I play it, I'm good at it, and that's about as far as I want to take it. I admire a lot of bands, and I enjoy watching them play live, especially when we're touring together. But when I'm home, I'm usually listening to new wave or old school funk, R&B, that kind of stuff. I don't want to listen to what I play all the time. And
that's more common than you would think. I hear a lot of artists say that. That's pretty common.
Yeah. So Jason we have a very linear vision of what we want to do with this band and where we want to take it. So it's nice to have somebody focused like him that I can count on to help with the business development and take the risks that we need to take to make it happen. And not to mention, he's an incredible bass player and more so an incredible songwriter and guitar player. So on the latest album, he wrote riffs for about 8 of the songs. We have 12 songs on there. I wrote the riffs for 4 of them. He wrote the riffs for 12 of them and recorded the rhythm tracks on the songs that he wrote. And I recorded the rhythm tracks on the ones that I wrote. And then we both did some overdub solo stuff, and Pat came in and did his magic. But yeah, that's it. Jason's vision is priceless to this band for sure. I couldn't do it without him. I wouldn't want to do it without him.
Yeah.
And he brought Sasha into the picture. They jammed together, I think, when they were in Heathen for a minute together. And Sasha's he's a little bit younger than us, but not much. He's born in 1976. I'm born in 70. Jason's 71. So, we're all Gen X guys.
Yep.
But being that he was a little bit younger than us, he was really into skate punk and all that stuff, as well as some metal and stuff. So he brings a lot of the hardcore element into this band, which is great because EXHORDER never was truly a thrash band or like truly a metal band. We started on the punk scene. Like I said, the metalheads didn't want anything to do with us, especially the promoters. So we cut our teeth in the punk scene, and with Sasha's love for punk, it's perfect for this band. Not to mention, he's not a large human, but for the love of God, I've never ever worked with a drummer who hits as hard as him. The only other drummer I can think of that hit that hard might have been Reed Mullen. And and then, like I said, I've only just jammed with Reed. We were never completely in a band together, but jamming with Reed was a fun experience, and he's so fun to watch live. Well, Sasha's kind of the same way. He's very flashy in how he plays live, so it's fun for the audience.
Sure.
He's a hell of a showman, and he's very gifted at what he does, no doubt.
So you feel like this is a good, stable lineup? Everyone's rowing in the same direction. The band feels real solid now in 2025.
Yeah, well, we've been at it. The 3 of us, me, Jason, and Sasha, have been a unit since the end of 2017.
Yeah.
So what's that, going on 8 years? We're coming up on the better part of a decade together. So I would call that secure. That's pretty stable. This band, as it is right now, the 4 of us, from 2022 until now, I want to say right about this time is when I started playing the guitar. And so that was 2020, the end of 2021. So it's been 4 years that this coming year will, especially like with Pat in the early spring, it's going to make 4 years that this band has been together uninterrupted for this lineup. That's never happened in this band before. It's never happened. We've always had somebody quit. Our first breakup happened in 1988, and everybody quit. And then it got reformed, and when it reformed, one of the original guitar players didn't come back. And then a year or 2 after that, our original bass player left, and we got Frankie Sparcello. So then you've got the Law era, and then that ends. Well, then between the Law and More in the Southern Skies, we reformed a few times, and it was mostly the Law lineup. But then, Chris lost interest in playing in the band, and Frankie died. So then we've got a revolving door coming in of people until until we decided to hang that up again in 2010, 2011. And then we didn't do anything again until 2017. So it's been a constant struggle to get some kind of continuity that is healthy and productive in this band. And we finally got it.
With all the dissension and the obstacles that you have had to go through, coupled with the hiatus that you took, were you ever at a point where music was almost completely done for you?
Yes.
Or did you always know that you would kind of circle back to it?
I want to say around 2005 when Hurricane Katrina happened here in Louisiana. And I was alone with my two babies, and one was 2 and one was 6, and it was just us, and shit was really, really bad in my life. I had a flooded home.
Yep.
The city was just in shambles. I didn't have any work. It was just really bad. And my current wife and I had just started dating around that time. And we went to one of the first post-Katrina gigs here in New Orleans, and it was I Hate God, and what was the band? It was Dave Chandler from St. Vitus and Ron Holzner, who used to play with Trouble, and they were playing, and it was at a gutted restaurant here in New Orleans, and the gig was done with generators, and it was just a way for everybody who was coming back home trying to rebuild to have a distraction from everything. So
help heal a little bit. Yeah.
So we went to go to the show, and it was great to be there and see it. But we got back to her place, and I was sitting on the edge of the bed and I'm just moping, and she's like, "What's wrong? We just had a great time tonight." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." She's like, "You were on the wrong side of the stage tonight, weren't you?" And I went, "I think so."
Yeah.
She looked at me and she goes, we've got to figure out a way to get you back on the right side. And I looked at her, I was like, really? I wasn't used to having a woman in my life that ready to support what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I want to say within 6 months, I had joined Alabama Thunderpussy.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah. So my wife saved me. Yeah. I thought, well, shit, now I'm just dad, and now I got to get a job, and now that's just a part of my past. But not to mention, I've had a couple of projects in between. It's like every time I think I'm done, and it doesn't take much to feel like you're done. All it takes is a few bad breaks and somebody screwing you over in the music industry for you to get jaded to the point where you're like, I'm out, Yeah. And I was content with being out. Problem is, music isn't just here. It's here and it's here.
Yeah.
And I wake up in the middle of the night and sometimes have to come down the hall into this room, pick up a guitar and sort out an idea that I had coming out of a dream.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Or I'm just walking around, constantly got drum beats in my head. So it never ends. So if you're stagnant and you're not being productive, at some point it's going to eat at you and it's going to wear at you, and it calls you back.
Yeah,
it does.
That makes sense. Yeah. And so because you got so many creatively prolific people in this band, what is the process like when EXHORDER gets together to make new music? Does someone come in with the lion's share of the ideas? Are you guys very collaborative? How does all that sort itself out?
Well, the hard part for us is that we don't have two people that live in the same state.
Okay.
We've got Jason and Pat live in the greater Cincinnati area, but Jason lives about 40 to 50 minutes outside of the city in the country, and Pat lives in the other direction about 40 minutes away in Kentucky.
Okay.
So we rehearse at Jason's house. He's got a piece of land in the country, built a big garage for us to rehearse in, and I live here. I'm the only one from Louisiana still in New Orleans, and Sasha lives in Albuquerque. He's got a child there, so he's tied there at least for another 5 or 6 years,
right?
Perhaps. So it's just tough for us to have an impromptu jam. It's just not going to happen. So Jason writes a lot on his own. I write a lot on my own. We share ideas with each other. I demo stuff here at my house with recording software and drum program. Uh, Sometimes Jason and Sasha will get together and hash out ideas in a studio, like pre-production style. And Pat's always got something brewing. He wants to start contributing riff wise to this next album, because he didn't on the last one. He kind of asked not to be counted on for that.
Yeah.
He still had a lot going on. His mother was sick before she had passed. He was still dealing with all of his legal issues. So he just said, man, if y'all can just bring me an album and I can lay leads on it, perfect.
Yeah.
And I think after the album came out so good, he kind of was like, man, I think next time I'd like to be a lot more involved. And the way I see it is, I would love for that. Just have some mercy on me, please, Pat.
Yeah. Don't show me up too badly.
I mean, you can, but I have to be able to play it.
Yeah. Please show some mercy on the poor little old rhythm guitar player over here.
but to be fair, of all the riffs I've had to learn how to play from this band, and let's face it, I wrote just a handful of riffage from the beginning days.
Yeah.
Not very much at all. We had so many guys in the beginning. The very original lineup is what wrote Slaughter in the Vatican. Everybody contributed. There wasn't one person in that band that wasn't significantly contributing to the writing. And then, that stuff was, pretty complicated. Lots of riffs. Got to learn how to play it. And I was a proficient player before that. I was just never really a thrash player. And thrash chops are a lot harder than regular metal chops. So I had to get good at that. So I busted my ass and did so. But when I go to learn riffs, it's some of the hardest ones that I've had to learn with Jason's.
Yeah.
He's got a really good right hand with his picking, like the Wrath of Prophecy song. That's his riff, and it's and it's all downstroke, so it's and there wasn't, for whatever reason, the downstrokes weren't as big of a thing in the beginning of this band as they are now. And to me, that's like the right way to do thrashy riffing, is the downstrokes. I don't want to, on speed parts, unless it's really fast picking, I don't want to have to alternate my picking. I think the percussion of it is all in it. Like James Hetfield. Everybody knows James Hetfield is the king of that downstroke.
King. Yes.
Well, that's the skill set that Jason has as a rhythm guitar player. He's got an incredibly good right hand.
And do you enjoy pulling double duty? Because for so long you were just a vocalist, and now, as you said, since 2022, now you were up there with microphone and guitar, which there are lots of guys. You just mentioned James Hetfield being one of them who do that, but a fairly new scenario for you. Do you like it?
Yeah, I've done it before. Like when I was in Floodgate, I played guitar and sang.
Okay.
Granted, the riffing was not as complicated as this, but it was still, I was playing songs in 5 and 7 and 11, and it's tricky. It's anytime you're playing counter rhythm to what you're singing, you really have to train your brain to do it. So it took a lot of work for me to make that happen. This is where I benefit from having had those 5 years of trumpet lessons from the little old lady tapping my foot to the metronome while I played.
Right.
I have good meter, and that's one way to make that happen. But I'm having more fun now in this band than I ever have had.
Yeah.
Now I did pride myself in being a front man. There were a lot of people that used to tell me, you're the best front man, whatever, as long as, David Lee Roth was still breathing, I'm not the greatest front man, but
you're still a front man. You're still a front man with a guitar. Yeah.
But true. Yeah. But I think some of the people, and that was a big reason I used to try, like anytime we'd have a revolving door with a guitar player, a bass player, I used to offer let me try. Let me try to play and sing. And everybody was kind of always like, nah, we need you as a front man. You put on such a great show. We need you to do what you do.
Right.
And that always kind of ticked me off, because I'm as capable of a player as anybody. I just need to get my chops up.
Right.
So, and plus it's one less mouth to feed, one less flight to purchase, do the math.
Yeah.
So, fast forward to now, it's a much harder show to put on as a crazy, loose spring, bouncy, front man with athletic energy. I'm 55 years old. The last 5 years before, the few years before I picked up the guitar, I had to do 6 weeks of training in a gym to get myself ready for the rigors of a tour and that performance.
Oh, sure.
And every night before I even hit the stage, I had to do 30 minutes of light cardio just to get myself ready.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have nearly that much prep work that I have to do now that I'm playing guitar. I mean, I still go into touring shape, and I still have to make sure that I'm geared up for the gig, but I don't have to do nearly as much running around the stage to put on a show and make it interesting, because I'm kind of anchored where the microphone is for a lot of the song.
Right.
I stay mostly dead center.
Yep.
Now I'm still moving. I'm still putting on a show, making ugly faces, etc.
Yep.
But when there's stretches of the song where there's no singing going, and I don't need to be by my pedal board or anything, I'm going to go over rock out with Pat. I'm going to go check out what Jason's doing over here. Go rock out with Sasha.
Yep.
And the bigger the stage, the more ground you got to cover. So I'm always making sure that I love going to see bands that put on a dynamic show, and I also love seeing bands that just kind of go forward to the floor and don't move around much, but just perform well. But to me, the best is a happy medium. If you can get out there and perform the songs to the best of your ability and put on a visually aesthetic show,
You're doing something. Yeah.
So that's the best of both worlds to me. So it's more fun now. I enjoy it more. The dynamics of our vehicle, our tour vehicle, are good. We don't have strife there. We don't have strife on the stage, and it's still growing. I mean, what more can I ask for?
Now, 2024 was the last album, and I'm wondering.
23, actually.
2023. The Defectum Omnium. And when you put an album out, are you a big one, or maybe somebody else in the band is? But since I have you on here, I'll ask you specifically: are you a big one for going on and looking at feedback and/or criticism and what people say about your work?
Hold on, was it 23 or 24?
I've got 24 written down here. Yeah.
Well, you're probably right. That's right, because in March it'll be 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Are you a big one when a new project comes out of going and looking what various sites will say, reviews, criticism, feedback? Are you a big one for entertaining that or checking out what people are saying when something new drops?
I would be lying if I said I wasn't paying attention, but if they hate it, it doesn't bother me.
Right.
I realize when More in the Southern Skies came out, a lot of the original fans were, oh man, this isn't Exhorder. Like, what are they doing? What are they doing? It's different. This sucks. And then the album kind of settles in, the dust settles, and then it starts, appealing and connecting with people, including the old school fans.
Yeah.
And you're always going to have the ones that are like, oh, the first two and that's it. Well,
right.
The good news is you can stay at home and listen to those two albums, and they'll never let you down. We got work to do.
But also 27 years went by. You're not the same people, same musicians. Things change. You evolve.
How am I supposed to have angry young man rage at 55 years old?
Right. I mean, you're not the same person as you were in Slaughter in the Vatican.
Exactly. Exactly. And to me, you listen to Presence by Led Zeppelin versus their first record, and it is two totally different bands.
Yeah. Yep.
Why should we not be allowed that luxury of evolving and becoming something different? I don't want to be that band that rips himself off over and over again trying to stick with one formula. That puts yourself in a box and keeps your ceiling very low. So I'm a musician before I'm a thrash metal musician, and I want, at the same time, I'm not doing any ballads for Exhorder. It's not to say I wouldn't do a ballad with another band, but I'm not doing it with Exhorder. It has no place. But you're going to hear acoustic stuff. You're going to hear stuff that's got, genre bending traits to it. So I the evolution that this band is taking right now is good, and I want to say that if we had put an album out after the law, we had already decided at that time that we were getting unfairly painted too much into a thrash metal box that we didn't want to be in, and we were gonna be heading into what eventually became More in the Southern Skies anyway, back in 1993. So there were people mad at us on the law that we didn't just do Slaughter in the Vatican Jr.,
Right.
part two.
Right.
Like, what are y'all doing? Like, this is a different stylistically. Like, yes, of course it's different stylistically, because we're a band and we're musicians and we're evolving. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with certain bands that have taken a formula and made it work over and over again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they're the best at it. They're the best at it.
Yeah, right. They know where their lane is and they stay in it. Yeah.
But I don't want that for myself. I want, we taking chances, some chances you take work better than others, but we've got nearly a 2-minute Latin chant on this album that I did as an intro to one of the songs. Jason did an acoustic interlude between two of the songs, and we've always had acoustic guitar on our albums. We haven't had one album where there wasn't any. We've had a B3 organ on one of our albums.
Right.
To me, if you just say, nah, meat and potatoes guitars and whatever, some bands are perfect for that. It's hard to imagine Motorhead with like a French horn in it, but I could imagine some of those old Motorhead songs redone by a symphony might be kind of cool.
Right. As a band, do you guys sit around? Because one of the things I see get critiqued a lot when I visit different sites where albums are getting reviewed, and again, this probably speaks to the dwindling attention spans, the way people are digesting music nowadays. We're seeing shorter projects, singles, EPs have made a big resurgence. Is that one of the big criticisms is length of an album? How many songs, how many minutes albums are coming in at? Do you guys in the band sit around and consciously talk about that?
So usually what we do is we just put together as many new songs as we can.
Okay.
And I think the idea is to cherry pick the best of it, and whatever, throw it up against the wall. What sticks stays, what doesn't, you either sandbag it for later or maybe trim the fat off of that down the line and make it better.
Right.
Now the last two albums were a little on the longer side, and for More in the Southern Skies it makes sense because 27 years passed by. There was a song on there that we actually didn't put on, which was The Man That Never Was, which we released as a single after that album. But a long time passed. If we were putting out a 35-minute album, I think it would be like, well, that's it.
It would fall flat with the fans. Yeah.
Yeah. And for Defectum Omnium, we had like I said, 12 songs, and we were going to hold one of them off as a single, kind of the same thing we did with The Man That Never Was. And I got to talking with Monty Connor about it, and he's like, can I ask you a question? Why did y'all decide to hold that song back for a single? It's like, well, we did it on the last album and it worked. And he's like, said, yeah, but that's, that doesn't mean it's going to work the same way again. He said, right. At this point, he said, why don't you just, he's like, y'all are obviously back and busy. So why don't y'all just put everything on the album? Even so, what if it's 50 something minutes long? It's just put it on the album and make singles later. It's like, okay, I like that. That's
refreshing to hear. That's refreshing to hear, because it does seem like everyone is so skittish about their work being too long nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is, if you've got the attention span to listen to, if you don't have the attention span to listen to a 55-minute album, you probably don't have the attention span to listen to a 40-minute album.
Right.
Right. So I know this much. I barely ever sit down anymore and listen to an album from start to finish.
It's hard. It's hard in our busy lives. It is hard. It has become a track by track. We're making up playlists and streaming.
Playlists. I love playlists.
Yeah.
I love having Slayer on my playlist, Butthole Surfers next, and
Yeah.
then Fats Domino
Right.
next, and
Right.
then Sonic Youth. I'm all about the variety.
Right.
I've heard, my daughter swears that I'm ADHD, but I keep forgetting to make an appointment.
Which you used to be able to do, back in the cassette days, but it was a lot of work putting all those different songs and making
Yeah,
yourself a mixtape. Now,
and
I
now,
mean, it's right at your disposal. Anything you
yeah,
want, anything you want to find, no matter how
yeah,
obscure it is, it's right there for us. I mean,
without a doubt, you either can use a streaming platform and build a playlist, or take an old MP3 player
yep,
or something and just whatever. It's really not hard to do, and I really think that's how most people listen to music now,
I
is
think
just
so. Yeah,
spin it on shuffle. So I know that on our streaming platforms, that's how most of the songs get popular, is from other people's playlists. All it takes is getting on one person's very popular playlist,
yeah.
and a song's going to take off.
So now, before I let you out of here, I do want to know, since I just reminded you that your last album is only a year old, what is next for you guys, and what is the timeline on new music from Exhorder, since an album did just come out in 2024?
So at the moment, um, I'm kind of in the middle of recording a new Trouble album. I got to get back onto it and get busy with it again,
Okay.
because we're planning on releasing that next year and doing some touring. But Exhorder is back in the mindset of, okay, we're just in March, it'll be 2 years since this album was released. Touring cycles for albums are typically a 2-year run now, instead of a 1-year run like it
Yeah.
used to be. So we're feeling that, okay, now it's time. The good news is we've fulfilled our contractual obligation to our label, but we've already talked with them about, well, if y'all want to work again, let's talk. So I'm not worried about whether or not, I have no concern of whether or not we're going to have a record deal. It's just a matter of how it's going to happen and when. So we have just really kind of gotten started on the content for that next album. I've got probably fewer cohesive ideas than Jason does. Jason's got probably 4 to 6 structures and skeletons of songs that will eventually be songs. And he's recorded like 4 of those with Sasha, just to kind of see what's going to work and what's not. Just pre-production, normal pre-production.
Right.
My stuff's a lot more jumbled. I've got so many videos of riffs, a lot of good stuff, and I know a lot of it's probably not going to make it to the album, but I haven't had the time really to focus on it that Jason has, and I'm okay with it, because Jason musically has been the one carrying the weight on his shoulders for as far as coming up with songs for the last few albums, the last couple of albums. So I'm happy that he's good at that and enjoys doing it, because it takes a lot of responsibility and burden off of me if I'm not able to get to it soon enough. So it doesn't matter to me if this time I only have 2 songs instead of 4 that made it to the album, and now that we've got Pat interested, say Pat's got 2 of them. Let's say Pat's got 2 or 3 of them. I got 2 or 3 of them, and Jason's got 4 or 5 of them. Already we've got more songs than we need.
There's your album. Yeah. And so does it feel realistic that we'll see something in 2026, or more likely 2027?
I'm going to say 2027.
Okay.
We don't want to ever be in a rush. I wanted so badly to get Defectum Omnium out at the end of 2023. And I was talking with Monty Connor about it, and I was like, we got to get this album out in 2023, man. We got to get it out this year. It's got to get out this year. And then he said, all right, playing devil's advocate here, hypothetical question, or rhetorical question, really. I don't know, whatever you want to say it. He said, you have to ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Why do you feel it's so important to get this album out this year? And then I didn't have a good answer.
Yes.
I was like, because I want it out this year. That was really the stupid short answer. And he said, the album should come out when it's ready. So there's no hurry. He said, you went 27 years between albums, and at that time it had only been 4 years since we'd released an album. He said, what's it make a difference if it comes out in 4 years or 4.5?
Right. Right. Right.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, hey, fucking wise words from a guy that's been doing it a while. So I mean,
For sure. For
he knows
sure.
a thing or two. And so, one more question before we wrap it up, though. What's your relationship? Because it is such a big part of what you guys do, especially in today's music industry, touring. As you get older and you have a family and stuff, it might be harder to tear yourself away from your creature comforts, and then pack up and go on the road. You still enjoy that part of the business?
Yeah, actually, this was my first dream in life was to become a father.
Mm-hmm.
My second dream in life was doing this. Well, the first one that I was able to make happen. I wanted to be a football player, but you can only go so far with what you're given.
Yeah, yeah.
So it didn't take me long as a teenager to figure out I got a better shot at making this my career than athletics.
Yeah.
So I chose it, and I chose the right thing because this is more of who I am than athletics. But yeah, it's been particularly pleasant the last couple of years because like just about all of the US touring we've done since 2023, I've either had my wife or my daughter out on the road selling merch and tour managing for us. So I get to bring home out on the road with me.
Right.
And it makes it a lot less lonely.
Yeah.
And also my wife is a traveler in the medical field when she's not working with us. And she just left the other day for a 3+ month assignment in Alaska. So like I'm not going to see my wife until probably Christmas time. And then after that, if she doesn't extend her contract, I probably won't see her till closer to spring. So, she chose that because of the money that she makes. It's just so much better. And we already knew that we can survive in a marriage without any kind of real problems with me being out of town for upwards of a month and a half at a time, So now it seems like if she's home for some reason and I'm out on tour and she's not there, well, she's like, well, it's no big deal. It's 4 weeks, 3 weeks, like
right.
The furthest we've been apart while she worked was 6 months. And I didn't see her at all. I always, when she's on a long assignment, I always try to go spend at least a couple of weeks with her somewhere in there, to reward her for taking her life and putting it on the back burner and going to do this. And there was an assignment she did for 6 months in Alaska last year that I wasn't able, because I was touring so much, I was not able to break away and go see her. So I did not see my wife for 6 months. I want to say over an 18-month period, we figured we were together about 5 months because she traveled so much.
That's healthcare. Yeah. That's my day job too. I work as a nurse. I'm in healthcare. I don't travel. I go to one set location, man, but I respect those people though.
Sure, man. It's
a sacrifice.
It is a sacrifice, but it's, if the reward is worth the risk, then sometimes you got to take it. And, I used to have a much more comfortable financial situation when I had my regular job. I had full benefits. I was worth $1 million dead with insurance. I had 401k, fleet vehicle, 4 weeks pay vacation, and I was miserable. So this opportunity came back to me and I took it, and I don't have the financial security from it that I did then, but I don't have to ask for forgiveness or permission. And everyone in my life knows it's better that he's happy doing this.
Amen.
And struggling a little more week to week than to have him come home every day with a scowl on his face.
Yeah, you can't put a price on the happiness factor. You can't. Yeah. So before I let you out of here, for people that want to tap in, find out what's going on with EXHORDER. I know everyone is out on social media someplace. It's the way of the world nowadays. So where's the best place to keep up with what's going on with all things EXHORDER?
So Instagram and Facebook are really the only platforms that we regularly post on.
Okay.
We have a a Twitter account or X or whatever the hell it's called now. I haven't used that thing. I never did figure out how to use that. It just seems like there's a lot of angry people talking there, and
Me
I don't
neither.
care.
Yeah,
I
me
don't
neither.
care about that. TikTok, I've never really embraced or understood. I kind of understand it, but it's more of a younger person thing.
It's for those dwindling attention spans we were talking about. Yeah, entertain me for 30 seconds because you know,
Yeah.
and then I want to move on.
And to be fair, my daughter has offered to help me figure it out, but
Yeah,
at the same time, we started it late. I think we've got like maybe 1,600 people following us there. It's like
yeah,
there's so much growth that needs to happen there. I kind of just don't want to take
yeah,
the time and
yeah,
make the effort when I've got up almost 40,000 people on Instagram following us and over 70,000 following us on Facebook.
yeah.
I just as soon feed that, you know.
I think I agree. I agree. I focus on those platforms even with the podcast too. And I wasn't even good about the Instagram for the longest. And then my son and some other people, the younger generation, got in my ear and said, hey, maybe pay attention a little more to your Instagram. You know what I mean? That's where all the kids are going nowadays. You know, being put little snippets of these interviews up there. It's a good little promotional tool. Go on there and be a little more embracing of your Instagram. So I'm trying. I'm an old dog, I'm trying to learn new tricks, you know?
Yeah. The way it was put to me when I turned the focus to the Instagram, because when I took over the Instagram, I think we only had about 6,000 or 7,000 followers. So you know, we've got 6 times that now in 6 years. So that's really good growth.
Very good.
And I don't know. It just at the time I wanted to get off of socials. I hate Facebook. Facebook, I call it farcebook land. I always call it a horrible place for horrible people because all everyone wants to do is fight there.
Yeah.
But you know, I still use it for the promotion of the band, and I just try to stay away from all the personal stuff on there. And when a guy had told me about Instagram, I was like, I don't know much about it. He goes, it's so much easier. Said everybody's you know, so at odds on Facebook. He said, and Instagram is mostly just people sharing pictures.
It is. Yeah. Right. You don't got to deal with a lot of opinions, conversational stuff, you know what I mean, debates, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? You just kind of stay away from it. It's more just like, you know, physical media that you're looking at, you know, as you said, pictures, videos, clips.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, rock is an avenue to get on your soapbox and have your platform to put your chest out and say, I am this and I think this.
Yeah.
And I don't have any problem with that because, you know, especially like as an old punk rocker, I understand. But at the same time, I'm less about dividing people than I am trying to get people to forget about forget about your differences, forget about this, start thinking more along the lines of we need to do this together and have fun and enjoy it, and you know, maybe a lot less division. I don't know.
Well said. No, I agree. Yeah.
The system has divided and conquered, and it's working so much that I don't know, some people will never come back from it, but I don't know. I try to stay away from all of the controversial talk and all that stuff.
Me too.
My job is to provide everyone some kind of escape from it.
An escape from that. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing this, man. I'm glad I got a chance to run you down. Please do stay in touch. You got a platform here anytime, man. So when anything new is dropping, man, you know, let me know.
Great.
And yeah, we'll definitely do it again. I've had so many of you NOLA guys on here, man, and you're all just so great. It's such a great scene. I mean, I've had the guys from Crowbar, I've had Jimmy on, I've had Matt, I've had Tommy on, you know what I mean? So I've had Brian from Soylent Green. It's such a great community of guys down there, man, you know? Great. Yeah, man. I appreciate it. You asked really good questions. Thank you.
Not the cookie cutter questions.
I try. I appreciate. I watch a lot of other podcasts, man. So I kind of know that, you know what I mean? It's got to get boring for the guests sometimes too, to field those same couple of questions. You know what I mean? Who are your influences? And even if I do ask them, I try to think of more creative ways to ask them. You know what I mean? So it's a little more conversational and not such call and response, you know? So, you know, so that way the time goes by a little quicker. And now, like, we've been on for almost an hour and a half and it doesn't really seem like it, you know? No. This has been a good one. I appreciate you taking the time to help us spread the plague. Absolutely. I appreciate you. We'll definitely do this again, my friend. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks, man.
Good talking to you, Kyle. Thanks, buddy.
Stay in touch.
And there he goes, folks, the legendary Kyle Thomas from the equally legendary Exhorder, one of the preeminent bands, and there's so many of them, out of that New Orleans scene. Listen, not only a great scene as far as bands, but amazing individuals in that scene. Add Kyle to that list. Super happy to have had him on. But listen, the people that I've run down that I've had on from that amazing New Orleans, Louisiana music scene, that number has now become pretty big. I mentioned some of them. Matt Brunson, Tommy Buckley from Crowbar, Brian Patton from Soylent Green, Vinny Labella, formerly of Exhorder. I've had Jimmy Bauer on from I Hate God. I don't even know if I've left anybody out. Sasha, also from Exhorder. I mean, I don't know if he identifies as a New Orleans native or whatever, but just bands that are associated with that scene. Everybody that I've had the privilege of having on here have been amazing guests, amazing conversations, just amazing people. So how can you not root for a scene like that and root for all those bands who obviously do their best to elevate each other, which is what is probably makes them one of the most amazing scenes in the music business, is the fact that they all look out for each other. They all go out on tour with each other. They all help each other out on their albums. They all lift each other up and elevate each other as artists. And you have to applaud that. So again, appreciate Kyle Thomas. He is the singer / rhythm guitar player for the mighty Exhorder, whose last album, as we said, dropped in 2024, Defectum Omnium. And as Kyle said, look for new music from them, probably realistically in 2027, as again, they did just drop an album last year. They had that long hiatus after they dropped the amazing debut Slaughter in the Vatican. Then they dropped The Law in 1992, and then they went off the grid for 27 years, came back in 2019 with Mourn the Southern Skies, and then, as I said, just dropped another one in 2024. But it sounds like the lineup is stable. There's a lot of positivity in the Exhorder camp right now. Everybody rowing in the same direction, so to speak. And it looks like we can expect, more from this resurgence, for lack of a better term, of Exhorder. More music, more albums, more touring. So this is a good thing. It is great to have the mighty Exhorder back. Slaughter in the Vatican is such a huge album for me, man. I remember when I put my battle vest together, which is loaded with patches. I was super stoked to find a Slaughter in the Vatican patch. It was one of the first ones that went on the jacket. So I love these guys. They are truly an amazing band. If you haven't tapped in, go check out their latest album, their entire discography, whatever. But be a good fan, lift up your artists. Like I always say, go to the website, sign up for newsletters, mailing lists, go catch a show if they're coming to your area live, buy some merchandise, be a good fan. That's the caveat that I always throw in here. We got to lift these artists up if we want them to keep creating and giving us that good shit. So again, appreciate Kyle Thomas. Now I can go into my obligatory spiel, which I didn't get a chance to do. Make sure to tap in with PodScum on Facebook. Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum is our handle. I have two separate shows. I promote them both through one Facebook, because that's plenty for me. So same thing with Instagram, Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum, same handle. As I told Kyle, I'm trying to be a little better about being on Instagram and putting little snippets of these conversations up there. It is a good promotional tool. The Instagram is growing, so I can't really knock it. So we are on there as well. And of course, if you're here right now, this is where you're going to get these incredible conversations. This is the meat and potatoes right here, as I always say. So if you're here now, please like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell to stay tapped in when new content is dropping. And new content is coming your way every single week. Sometimes it's an episode. Sometimes it's a plethora of episodes, depending on how full the well is, how many interviews we're doing, how many people we're running down. But you can expect new content at least weekly. So please stay tapped in with us. I appreciate the viewers. I appreciate the subscribers. And ultimately, I appreciate the guests without whom I could not do this. So thank you to everybody that supports the channel. And again, a big thank you to KYLE Thomas for joining us today. I appreciate him. And until we get together and we do this thing again, this is your boy, Reckless Rexx, reminding you to take it easy and keep it sleazy.